Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
It's end of game week 24. We got double game week on the way, mate. Double game week on the way.
You might be saying that every week for the rest of the season, nearly.
Yeah,
Our
so
game week
exciting.
30, mate.
Indeed it is. End of game week 24, I had a massive red arrow, which I got 50 points. I was quite surprised by how big a red arrow I had of 50 points, mate, to be honest with you. 170k to 240, considering the previous week was so shit and barely dropped 20 places.
So, did you miss the deadline?
Yeah, I missed the deadline. I bet you wished you missed the deadline, though, mate, to be honest with you. Because
yes and no, we'll talk about that in a sec.
Ultimately, I didn't end up selling Gilmore and Johnson for Robertson and Luca Dean, which ended up being a 6-point difference. But what I did not do was move the armband from Ronaldo to Bowen, which was a 10-point difference, but then I would have taken a hit. So I ended up 12 points worse off this week, which I'll take it. Considering missing a deadline and only be out 12 points and now have a free transfer to roll into this week, I don't think is too bad. It's so easy for me now to get Mo Salah back in.
Are you going now?
Yeah, I'm going to get him now this week. I'm going to take a -4, make 3 moves.
Oh, exciting. Talk to us.
The 2 moves that I was supposed to make last week in getting
Robertson in for
Rudiger.
Yeah.
Luca Dean for Alonso. Although I might go Max Kilman instead of Luca Dean, save myself a little bit of money and make the Luca Dean move further down the line.
So it gives you an extra double on.
It does. And I will, I was going to get Max Kilman for 26 anyway. Okay. But yeah, it keeps my options open. I'm not desperate to get Luca Dean now. And Jota to Salah.
Sell Jota now.
Is
that the man who's going to...
I can only have 3 Liverpool players, mate, sadly.
Oh, I see. Right. And you want to get Robertson in. So last night's not changed your mind on that?
No.
It's ironic, isn't it? Because I think pre-game week for those on wildcard probably have gone that way. Might have used Jota as a placeholder. That would have been the ideal scenario. But you see that again last night. He's the second highest goal scorer in the league, right?
Yeah.
He's shown in the past he can score off the bench and stuff. Mm-hmm. We still don't really know the answer in terms of in Klopp's mind who has favouritism between Jota and Firmino. And I suggest it's probably down to the tactical moves that he wants to make in the game. It could even be that Jota's ahead of Mane in his mind in terms of, I want to play Firmino, but perhaps I want to even play Jota ahead of Mane. I doubt that's quite the case now. As obviously, I guess Mane's in competition with the exciting Luis Diaz, so I hope you're going to talk to us about it in a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't want to move him right now. I'd planned to get rid of Jota after the double in 27, and my kind of reshaped plan following the game week is probably to keep going with him, actually.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. But if that's the case for me, then I need to find another route to Salah. And that the only way I can then get to Salah is when I sell Ronaldo, because I need the money. Because I'm moving someone cheap like Billy Gilmore to Salah or Trossard, but I don't want to sell Trossard before the double. My only route to Salah right now is Jota.
How much money have you got in the bank at the moment?
Not enough, mate. I think it's a couple of million.
So you got a couple mil in the bank, right? Yeah, but with that, you could go something like saying if you just hold fire. Are you gonna captain Ronaldo? I take it as you've got him.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I will, but I don't want
Unbelievable that you've got red. And I think others feel like
I just don't want to.
I get that.
If I buy Salah, I would rather captain Salah than Ronaldo.
I would honestly, if you had Ronaldo, and I'm not going to buy him unless Antonio Conte says today, hey, guess what? Harry Kane's injured. I'm not going to buy him, but if I had him, I'd stick the armband on him. Definitely. You have to ask you 2 home fixtures in a double, and admittedly, right, those 2 teams, Brighton and Southampton, can be pretty awkward, as I can certainly testify over the last week or so. But you go for it, mate. Go think of Tottenham. Even Tottenham played Brighton and Southampton last week. Scored 5 goals. Could have been more. I think you go Ronaldo if you've got personally. There seems to be this Twitter idea floating about at the moment that if you've got both, go Fernandes. But no, I'd still go Ronaldo myself of the two. Can you in game week 26, Suj, can you go Ronaldo to Breuer, Gilmore to Salah?
Yep.
Because I love that more.
Yeah, I know. It's just
and then you forego Robertson.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what state that leaves you in this week. You can still sell one of Alonso or Rudiger.
I'll sell both.
You could still sell both, yeah. Does that allow you to go Luca Dean and
Kilman?
I don't think you'd force Kilman in, to be honest, this week.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've got 3 doublers this week: De Gea, Trossard, and Ronaldo. I've got obviously Trent and Cancelo at the back. Ben Johnson's not going to play. Jota, Bowen, Gallagher, Antonio, Ronaldo.
Remember, Breuer obviously doesn't have a double in 26, but it's the start of a good run for Southampton, and it starts with Everton at home. You then got Everton at home, Norwich at home, back to back. You've also got Watford at home in 29.
I mean,
they may have a fixture in 30.
Ronaldo to Breuer has been on the cards for weeks, mate. It's just this fucking double is holding it off, and I'm kind of I don't know if it's just the rebellious nature of it, but I want to stop making decisions based on the fact that people have doubles. Salah's going to
slap. Buy Breuer in 26.
Yeah, I'm going to. I would have anyway, mate, give me money to spread elsewhere.
But then you're foregoing Robertson and keeping Jota.
Mm-hmm.
That's the call, isn't it? The thing is, as well, there's kind of an assumption at the moment that Liverpool's attackers, the majority of them won't play twice in the 26 double of like Norwich and Leeds, which is fair. What's the guarantee that Robertson's going to play twice? Could he give Shimikas a game in one of them two? Yeah.
Yeah,
Same applies to Trent even. Could he rest Trent for one of them two? Yeah. I doubt it would be the Leeds game, to be honest. Certainly from a defensive perspective.
But Luis Diaz has come in and played 89 minutes and was so good. Swapped sides, 8 million. He's pretty much $500,000 cheaper than Jota, and will get a similar amount of minutes between now and the season, maybe.
No, I disagree with that.
You don't think he'll get a similar amount of minutes?
Nah, you've got Mane to come back in, haven't you? So
so they're all going to share it around a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
It's difficult. And also the other thing in decision making is that Felipe Coutinho is 7.5, isn't it? 7.2 now, sorry. And looks bang on it right now. Bang on it. So that's a great price to compare against. Like, I still think Villa will do well and score goals. So there are so many good options at the moment. Villa still have games to rearrange as well. So yes, they don't have a double, but they will have a double. It's not long before they will have doubles.
There are so many good options, just none of them are forwards.
Yeah, exactly that. My front line will end up Dennis, Breuer, and other Antonio.
Well, I want to get towards having Breuer and Eder as the second and third, basically. And then decide if I'm keeping Harry longer term or downgrading that and moving it into Sonny's area or something like that. So yeah, that's where I want to get to. I mean, that's kind of booked in for me 27. I'd rather go players short and get definitely Breuer in 27, go Eder in probably 27 as well, just to get them Watford guys out after the double as soon as possible. But that's something over the next 2 game weeks may make me think, I want to keep them. I brought Harry in and captained him. I mentioned it as a possibility on the podcast Monday, but it wasn't really the plan. Once I finally sat down and looked at my ideas of what I wanted to do over the next few game weeks on Monday evening, that was the right conclusion for me. The problem was, having bought Harry, I wanted to captain him. What I'd seen of Burnley Watford had put me off Bowen. And I'd have been better off doing your job and missing the deadline, because had I missed the deadline, I'd have left the captaincy bust on Bowen, which would have been an extra, obviously, 11 points. Take away the 4 I got from Kane, and I would have had Dominic Calvert-Lewin still sitting in the team, who didn't even get on the pitch, and I'd have had Jacob Ramsey come off the bench. So 21 points that cost me.
Unbelievable.
I finished on 61 with a small, I say small red. I dropped to about 20 places, actually, 79K now. The problem I had was the returnees I had were basically the players that were so popular. So I had 5 returnees, and 4 of them were over 100% effective ownership. They were bad for me.
Wow.
Cancelo,
Yeah.
Trent, Jared Bowen, and Diogo Jota. The only actual
We all own
returnee,
them.
exactly, the only actual returnee I had that was good for me, and I'd rather it didn't happen, was Kieran Tierney's clean sheet for Arsenal last night. So 61 points on the face of it with a captain miss is obviously not a bad week, but it conspired against me a little bit. But no regrets on the transfer. It's possibly more, and I've discussed this before with Ramsey, about in terms of what he is at the moment, he's kind of comparable with, I think, say, Conor Gallagher at Palace. In terms of the sort of price he should be, the position he's playing on the pitch. The one key thing which I completely overlooked was midfield runners against Leeds. Midfield runners against Leeds have always got an opportunity of scoring. And I think I have to reassess my kind of principled idea of I'll play the forward, because I didn't expect Watford to play at score at West Ham, but I actually expected Villa to beat Leeds. And although I'd overlooked the midfield runner thing, I should have been playing Jacob Ramsey. If Jacob Ramsey was 6.5 million, I'd have played him. He's psychological. I'm probably going to bench him again this week, by the way.
Well, you say that, but then we talked on the show about how Jacob Ramsey was sitting deeper.
Well, there is that. Yeah, no, and he has been, but still against Leeds, midfield runners. If you've got midfield runners against Leeds, if you've got a forward player like Ollie Watkins, who's good off the ball, who can drag people out of position and stuff, then if a midfield runner can break through, a la Bruno Fernandes game week 1, right, all the way back. If you've got someone who can do that and can finish when he gets there, he's so calm, then you'd want to play that sort of player against Leeds specifically, almost more than anybody. But yes, Jacob Ramsey has been playing deeper recently, but had the complete license last night to be the Wednesday night, the driving runner that would kind of fill the space as and when people broke, and Leeds couldn't deal with it. So he won't get that kind of midfield space to be able to drive in against Newcastle. But then also the flip is, should you fear playing him against Newcastle? No. He's kind of in ideal first sub territory for me. I obviously am not going to pick him over Trossard this week, and my Trossard's got a double. But if Potter was to say today, look, Trossard's unavailable, he's definitely going to be out, then I'd sell Trossard. I probably still wouldn't be playing him, because the person I'd be buying in is obviously Mo Salah. And then I don't play Bernardo Silva against Norwich. The plan for me right now is to sell Bernardo Silva for Mo Salah. And I'm going to captain David De Gea. I'm going to have...
I was going to ask you, you're going to have a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I'm going to go for it. I've done it before. It wasn't that bad. A little bit off-putting by how good, obviously, Southampton were on Wednesday night, and knowing United have only kept, 5 clean sheets in the league this year. But the Villa and Brentford double away, he picked up 8 points for me. And I'd kind of look at that from 2 home games as being the par of the course as well. Probably a 6 or 7 pointer plus a 2-pointer is probably what I'd expect. If you offered me 9 points from him now, I'll take that. And I know the risk of going without a Ronaldo or Fernandes this week, and they are the 2 best captaincy options. But what it does for me going forward is so much better. That break in by going Bruno now and then going Mo Salah the week after is going to cost me some pain in terms of what I want to do between game weeks 26 and 28. And I don't think doing it now is worth it, personally. Yeah. So I'm only going to have De Gea, Dalot, Trossard as doublers. What about yourself?
De Gea, Trossard, and Ronaldo. Ronaldo captain doubling.
Okay, cool. I think before we do the game research, we should talk about Brighton a little bit, because otherwise we won't speak about them. Obviously did COTC, recorded it prior to Wednesday night's games with Gary and Sam. We've basically gone through every Manchester United and Brighton asset, and I highly recommend that podcast yesterday. It's probably the most FPL themed Clash of the Correspondence we've ever done. It's like an hour of FPL talk, basically, on those 2 clubs. It gives you everything you need ahead of their double. And there are some interesting assets at Brighton. Trossard, I think, is probably entering into the no-buy zone, because obviously he's had COVID and we don't know how he's going to recover from that. For people like me and Suj, we've got him. We play him. We assess afterwards, of course. Neil Maupay is optional, but I'm not sure that you'll feel any different about Neil Maupay than you felt about Dennis or King. And as we discussed on that podcast as well, you may find once you go to Maupay, because of the fixtures, he becomes really difficult to get rid of. They've got a period of Liverpool, Man City, 29-30, and you go, that's great, I'm definitely getting rid. But you might be free hitting in 30, and those two fixtures might combine to make a double in 29 if Manchester City beat Peterborough. It's a possibility. Then you might, it's a forward. I've got a forward doubler in 29. There won't be many doubles. Then you end up keeping. Then afterwards in 31, they got Norwich. You might never get rid of him. Yeah. That's something you should be conscious of. It's part way I don't want to go there personally, because I just think I'm better off ignoring that, going, I need to get Breuer in a few weeks. He's the best pound for pound forward in the game right now, in my opinion. And I want to get Eder as well. Say, look, it's 4.9 million forward. He's playing every week. He can sit on the bench for me. I'm not expecting anything. I'm sick of all these forwards. They're all crap. You know how many forwards have scored more points than Timo Pukki this season?
Yes. I follow you on Twitter, James, so I do.
The answer was 4.
Yeah.
And his goal on Wednesday night was his first since November. I mean, what is that?
Mad. It's mad.
It's mad. To be honest, arguably the best forward, if you were to strip away all the doubles and stuff like that, the best forward in and around that value right now, I can't even believe I'm saying it, is Alan St. Maximin. Certainly based on what I saw Tuesday night. Jesus Christ, he played well. Brighton defensively, Veltman, no, he's not nailed for the 100th time. Doesn't mean he won't play twice, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start at all. Lamptey's probably unlikely to play both games. That's dodgy. And as Sam highlighted yesterday, although it always looks great, the returns, unfortunately, are just not really there. Cucurella, if affordability is fine, is the best choice. Adam Webster's 4.4, I want to say, Suj. He's locked. Lewis Dunk's locked at 4.8. If you want absolute nailed, Dunk, Webster, Cucurella. Avoid the right backs. I think if I was going for one of the cheap ones, I'd go for Webster. I would not bother with Veltman personally. Ideally, the best choice would be Cucurella.
Okay, understood. Or I can't see too many diving into Brighton necessarily. Maybe only one if they are.
Well, they've got great fixtures afterwards as well, haven't they? Burnley, Villa, Newcastle, the 3 afterwards. So if you're running through 27 as well, I mean, great options. Yeah. They're 3 good fixtures afterwards.
Yeah. Should we talk about some of these games that happened this week? Starting with Newcastle 3, Everton 1. Everton must have been buoyed after the FA Cup victory.
That lasted long.
But then back down to earth and back down to reality. And yeah, I mean, I saw only the highlights of this game, but it didn't look particularly... Newcastle looked like they just had more energy and created more chances. And I saw a couple of clips. I think it was in the lead up to one of the goals. Dele Alli got caught on the ball, sloppy.
Yeah, on the second goal, I think.
Yeah, and you're like, oh shit, that's not what you need in your first game, is it really?
Let's talk about Everton first. In fact, no, let's talk about some absolutely hilarious moments that happened in the game first. So I cannot recall ever seeing a player have a shot cleared off the line, rebounds off someone for an own goal, and then the exact opposite happens at the other end with a couple of minutes, just be it off the bar rather than... It's incredible just to see the graphic of Lascelles' goal, Holgate own goal, Lascelles' own goal. I mean, what's the chance of that? And only a couple of minutes apart. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And they were both comedy goals. There were also, you need to find a couple of comedy gold brilliant moments in the game as well. Joe Linton managing to hit himself in the face while taking a shot. But you know what? I feel better about saying it now because he was really good again. I think I saw a stat that since Eddie Howe's gone in there and obviously changed his position, he's won more tackles per game than anybody else in the league. It's phenomenal. Really? Yeah. He's doing really well, Joe Linton. He's like a different player now. But again, when it came to the big moment in front of goal, it's like someone tied his shoelaces together and he's managed to kick the ball into his own chin. And you have to see, have you seen the Everton one? Where the pass back to Pickford and he skies it in the air. And obviously he's getting stick from the Newcastle fans because of his Sunderland connections. Completely shanks it in the air. And poor Braithwaite, who come on, who had a torrid game after having to come on for Yerry Mina, who got injured. He's tried to hack it up the pitch. he sliced it backwards out for a corner. And that one moment summed up Everton, who got worse and worse as the game went on. Now, there were some mitigating circumstances from. The problem is they've just lost, I think at the moment, their two most influential players through injury. Yep. Did you just fart?
No.
That was your phone, was it? Yerry Mina injured again. So the poor geezer can't stay fit for more than 2 games at a time. And if you bear in mind that Godfrey's injured as well, if he sticks with a back 3, you're now looking at Holgate, Keane, Braithwaite. And that is so bang average. I'm not going to tell Everton fans anything they don't know. They're in huge trouble. To lose Gray as well, who's obviously their best ball carrier, has probably been, he's actually been one of the signings of the season, actually, in fairness, pound for pound, how much money they spent on him and stuff. The fact that he carries the ball, gets them up the pitch for him. He's the best in terms of delivery for wide areas. You're putting Calvert-Lewin back in the team, and now you're losing the weapon of Gray. I presume Richarlison will probably go back into a wide area. I thought Donny van der Beek showed some nice touches when he came on. He played in a deeper role alongside Allen, which was a little bit enforced because they had to take Gomez off because he was going to get sent off, basically, if they didn't take him off, which then meant, because of the injuries to Mina and Calvert-Lewin, Damari Gray, Calvert-Lewin never got any minutes. So if you're thinking, oh, Calvert-Lewin didn't even get on, I'd be amazed if Calvert-Lewin doesn't start against Leeds. They've just got to put him in. Just throw him in and take the risk because the game's too important. So I think he'll play. I don't know where Van der Beek and Dele Alli are fitting into this. I'm really serious. I don't know where it works in this system that they're playing. So you could play Van der Beek in a 2 with Allen, which football-wise is good. It's nice. I'm not sure you want that against the intensity of Leeds. And for Dele, the biggest problem is exactly what I said to you on the Tottenham pod we did last week. Who's going to find him? His one good trait is his movement off the ball and breaking into the box. Who's going to find him? It's almost a waste of time at the moment. He didn't help himself because he didn't play well. No. He looked really off it on the ball. You kind of highlighted, and that's all when you want to see, he got dispossessed for the second goal. Everton assets are a complete and utter shambles from an FPL perspective, completely avoid. If you've got DCL, I'd still keep it this week. Or if you did go Richarlison prior to 25, again, I'd keep it this week. Otherwise, don't go anywhere near them at the moment. That game against Leeds is so big. So big. And if they do not match Leeds for intensity, which is a tough thing to do, they won't get anything. And then don't look at their fixtures afterwards, mate. They've got 6 points from the last 15, mate.
I mean, we both predicted a draw in this game, but I really thought that we'd see something different and something optimistic for Everton. On the flip side, we did see something optimistic for Newcastle. I mean, say Maximin's been bang on it for a little while. I do like him, but Newcastle put themselves out of the relegation zone. Well, they did on Tuesday at least, anyway. And you'd think now that they've got enough firepower and a bit of solidity to get out of
it. There's a complete uplifting within the club in comparison to every other club down there at the moment. Even Brentford possibly beginning to look over their shoulder a little bit. Newcastle, the one is the uplift.
It's one of those. Actually, you know what? We've got a top player here because. It's the type. Scoring goals is one thing. The type of goals you score as well sometimes matters. And when you see Trips do that, you're like, oh yeah, we've got England's right back, former England right back.
His delivery
is so good.
His delivery spot on. It's a great free kick. I'm not too sure on Pickford's organising of the wall, but it's brilliantly dispatched.
Still scores.
And his great, actually, in open play positionings, his delivery was really good. He's on a lot of the set pieces. There will be a time, I'm certain, between now and the end of the season where Kieran Trippier will be an FPL discussion where people are questioning it, even despite the fact he's a Newcastle player. He's actually a doubt for Sunday because he came off with the calf issue right at the end of the game. Wouldn't be surprised if he misses the game, and that'd be a blow, actually, if he does, because he brings, obviously, experience as well with him. Worth saying as well, on the other side, Matt Targett can't play this weekend either. made his debut, probably the easiest debut anyone's ever had in their life playing against that Everton team. Can't play on Sunday because obviously he's ineligible to play against parent club Villa. So they might have to change both fullbacks, and that might destabilise them a little bit actually going into that game. I think he's off topic for a second, but I think Newcastle fans in years to come will remember this night as a trigger, as the beginning as kind of the trigger beginning for whatever comes next. That said, I will calm expectations a little bit from Newcastle fans and remind you that, sorry, you were playing Everton. Alan Saint-Maximin was breathtaking. Joy to watch. He would have been anybody who paid to get in the ground. Him alone was worth paying to get in the ground. He got better and better every time he touched the ball during the game, and they just could not deal with him. He's only one sprint away from an injury, always. But if he stays fit, he's going to win them games of football on his own. He was man of the match by miles. It's nearly as good as any individual performance I've seen from a player all season. It's breathtaking, mate.
Let's talk about West Ham 1, Watford 0. I just feel like from an FPL point of view, it's so easy to summarise.
Sell King and Dennis.
Yeah, like Watford are gonna be better under Roy Hodgson. They're going to work harder. They're going to make it difficult for teams. They'll get a few results along the way, but ultimately they just don't have the quality to stay up, in my opinion. And West Ham, it's basically Bowen or nothing.
It's really interesting, Watford, actually, right? I just looking ahead at their fixtures for the rest of the season. Watford's last 5 home games: Everton, Leeds, Brentford, Burnley, and Leicester. It's not bad for a final 5 home games, and that'll probably shape what happens, because actually they're in the middle of some difficult fixtures. Brighton's never easy. Villa away 26. Palace is not easy now. United away. Arsenal, they could put themselves in a really bad position. But if they can hang on to that swing from sort of game week 30 onwards, those last 5 home games, there's points there. There'd be points there for anybody playing them games. So wouldn't rule them out. I didn't watch the games. So I'll leave this to you, Suj. I heard Kamara at left back played really well. I don't know if you got any thoughts on that. Not from an FPL perspective. I'm just asking.
I mean, I thought most of Watford players, from an effort point of view, did really well.
They're more organised than they've got to be. 2 banks of 4, right?
They really pressed us well, especially in the first half. But ultimately, just didn't have the quality. There was a couple of chances they had the headed effort in the first half and stuff. And you're like, you got to do better than that. But on the flip side, West Ham always had the quality. So Ben Rama hit the post in the first half. Bowen obviously scored the goal and hit the post again in the second half. You knew that when we needed to, we were going to nick a goal and get it over the line, but not with any kind of real particular confidence. West Ham's just struggling with finding a way to break down teams that sit in and dig in a little bit more. And Moyes definitely needs to look at that and address it. I mean, if people are holding on to Antonio like I am, thinking that the next few fixtures are good. I mean, Leicester, all over the place at the moment. Then we've got Newcastle at home before we go to Wolves, and that's an easy time to come off because we've got difficult fixtures after Wolves, Liverpool, Aston Villa.
Wolves obviously is at home. It's not an easy time to come off because it's in the blank. So if you're running through, it's not a time. 28 might be.
A lot of people might free hit in 27.
Yeah, and obviously if you are fine, then you might be looking to sell in 28. But consider, and this is one of the things I've looked at, we say keeping Bowen longer term. Liverpool, when you got an asset that goes to Liverpool away, it's like, oh my God, that's terrible. In my plans, I've actually got me benching him at the moment. Because afterwards, Villa, Tottenham, Everton, Brentford, Burnley is fine as fixtures.
Yeah, and Bowen, a lot of people might build up value in as well.
There's that as well.
He's the one that I think is fixture proof. You just buy him. We said Antonio is fixture proof in the past. Bowen, for me, you just keep him now because he's such a threat.
Plus, consider that if Chelsea and Arsenal does drop into game week 28, people's priority is probably not going to be moving Bowen
West Ham on. Yeah.
I mean, that you could move Bowen to Mason Mount. Should you want to just sit down and think about that sort of thing? You could move it to a Martinelli or a Smith Rowe or a Saka or something, maybe. But then you've missed Arsenal's first double. Like Martinelli's going to miss the first part of it. What a clown! Talk about that in a bit, because I know the Gunners are ready to. No, James, no, I'm going to tell you that Michael Oliver was right. Sorry, guys. So I think he would stay, but that's he right now is the only West Ham asset of interest to me, Jared Bowen.
Agreed.
Antonio is now like, fucking hell, man. Declan Rice must nearly have as many points of him since game week 3.
Yeah, quite possibly. It's just out of form, as was his comments in the car the other day as well. King Dennis, what did you think? What did you see when you saw them? That they look a partnership? What are you seeing? I think King is more on it. King has more. I don't know if this is true, but this is how it feels. King has more pace. So King was running at the back line more than Dennis was. Dennis can drift in and out of games, I find. It depends on whether the mood particularly takes him or not. I'd be interested to pull up Dennis's stats. Let me see. I feel like Dennis is the type of player that either gets a double-digit haul or nothing.
Yeah. How would you feel? Wait,
10, 9, 9, 10, 14, 12.
Are you going to read them all out?
That's Dennis's double, like nines and more.
Yeah.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times he's got more than 9 points.
So do you know how many games Josh King scored in this season?
I don't.
3.
Yeah.
He scored in 3 games this season.
It's like they go big or go nothing, basically.
I think for me, it's a keep.
Come off is for me.
It's a keep this way, and I'm keeping them for the double.
Yeah, agreed. And that's because I've bought Dennis at 5.2, right? And he's way more than 6.2. So
it's just a case of, and I probably will still start them both this weekend because it's going to be Hodgson's first home game as well, right? So you might get a different crowd to what they had with Norwich and stuff like that. There's nothing to move to that's I'll go to Morpay, and then I've got the reverse problem the following week where then they've got the double and Morpay hasn't. Like I just can't see the worthwhile of doing it, and I'm just better off. It's not like anybody else is returning. Saint Maxim is the only one actually doing anything at the moment, and he doesn't help in terms of trying to plan through unless you're really happy to just forget the doubles. You can't help the prospect of the double. It's just the human nature of us as FPL managers. You want the doubler. So I'm not moving Dennis or King to St. Maximin when those 2 guys have got 3 fixtures and he's got 2. I refuse to do it. Similar with Breuer and stuff. What am I going to do? I'm going to move Dennis or King to Breuer when Breuer's got Manchester United away anyway. And I know he looks the better asset. Then Breuer's got a single fixture and the Watford guys have got the double. I'm not moving it. There was one incident in the game, Suj, and I've only seen 2-3 minutes of the game, when King was flagged offside and Rice brought him down the opposite end of the ground to you in the second half. No, in the first half, sorry. And if Dennis should release the pass earlier, and I don't know why he doesn't, if he releases the pass earlier, King's away onside, and Declan Rice wouldn't be able to catch him because King has to try and break his stride because he knows that he's going offside and stuff. And then suddenly you've got assist Dennis, goal King.
Yeah, but they don't have the quality to do it, mate. That's the thing.
Well, no.
Quality is a problem.
Maybe next time Dennis will release the pass. They've also, interestingly, though, got a bit of a wild card coming back in this week in Ismail Assar, who got the team news.
I mean, he is quality.
He is, and that's going to make a difference. And I think also key for King and Dennis owners is we weren't too sure going into this game if one of them might play wide and João Pedro might have suddenly got the kind of favoritism to play through the middle. It looks like King and Dennis are going to be the 2. Sarr is definitely going to play. So I think it probably means they probably play someone like Cleverley, as they did against you, off the left. That kind of means they can move from 4-4-2 to 4-3-3 within game situations that allows Sarr to be an absolute flyer and a menace on the right. And you bring that into the team, that just takes people's attention away. And once you have that, that might mean a bit more space for the other guys as well. So look, what I would say is I would not buy the Watford players in 26. If I was free hitting in 26, I don't think I'd have either Dennis or King. But I just think I'm not moving it now.
Burnley won, Watford won. I did think Burnley would beat them, but they didn't. They only managed to draw.
Look at you taking the piss. Well, Again, I didn't watch this game, so forgive me. People are quite welcome to point out, and anything I say might be wrong. But as Gary said yesterday, he said, like, for the first hour, United played really well. Now, he didn't add to that, but if you want to read between the lines and look back, Ronaldo came on at 60 minutes.
Yeah,
United should have had the game won by half time.
Yeah.
United did play okay in the first half.
But that's the same for the FA Cup game against Middlesbrough as well. But they didn't, did they?
No, true. And Ronaldo did play that game against Middlesbrough, it's worth saying. But he also didn't play at Villa. And the first half out at Villa was the best I'd seen of them this season. So there is that narrative, because I kind of defended that afterwards and said, you can't just say it's Ronaldo. There were other players missing against Villa as well. But that narrative will sit. United didn't do enough. I watched the last 15 minutes of both halves. Certainly in the final quarter of the second half, United didn't do enough. It looked like it could. I know United had more of it territorially, but it looked like, if they considered a set piece or something, they could be right in trouble with the conditions were horrendous. I'm so looking forward to going to Burnley 12 days from now, as you can imagine, Suj. I love doing it to myself. Sorry, by the way, to one of our patrons, Alana Hook, I know I'm not going to Middlesbrough now. Tuesday's the worst day for me. Sorry, mate. I wanted to pick out Luke Shaw on the goal, because all I've seen is criticism of Harry Maguire. Again, and I'm not saying Harry Maguire's not at fault, but Luke Shaw makes two massive errors on that equalising goal. And because it don't happen anywhere near the ball, no one says anything about it. He goes way too deep, which ends up playing Rodriguez onside. As a fullback in a flat back four, you should never end up as the deepest player. And he sits in too deep. Then the distance between him and his centre-backs is way too big that he can't come across and make the ground. And he nearly gets there against Jay Rodriguez. So it's easy to pick out the £75 million man. And I'm not saying he wasn't at fault, but Luke Shaw, if Luke Shaw steps up, the goal doesn't happen. And he should do as a left back. He's experienced enough to know he shouldn't have ended up that deep in that position. I think the idea of Pogba's position is quite interesting, in that it can let them float between a double pivot and float between a 4-3-3. I think McTominay is the most suitable for playing the more deep lying of the midfield free role, but I also think it's not what he wants to do, because McTominay's best strength is kind of being like what Jacob Ramsey was against Leeds, right? That kind of, can you go and drive on? Whereas playing behind Pogba and Fernandes, you're restricting actually one of the best qualities of one of your players. But it's the right way, I think, for them to set up at the moment. It means that Fernandes is kind of flitting between 10 and 8 role. I think you might find that against Brighton specifically and particularly in game 2, that might become more of a number 8 role. And I do believe that Pogba might flourish in this position. Remember, he's just come back from injury. From an FPL perspective, no. If you really wanted to pump one this week, it would be Rashford for me. But there's no consideration.
And you're not bothered about adding any Burnley for 26 either, really?
I think to go Rashford as well, if you're going Rashford now as well, what are you going to it from? It's Son, is it? Doesn't feel right. So
don't buy United. I've been stuck with United since wildcard ages ago. I don't want any more. I don't want nothing to do with them.
If people want to buy Ronaldo or Fernandes in for a week and move it on, or sorry, Dallo or whatever, I'm absolutely fine. If you want to punt a Rashford or a Sancho, I'm absolutely fine with it. I would not go for that. I keep saying, who's most nailed defensively? Listen, Maguire and Varane, if they're fit, are nailed, right? They're not really assets. Leave it be. If you want a defensive one, take the chance on Dallo. At least it's a little bit interesting and stuff. Burnley, back-to-back doubles coming, Suj.
Not interested.
I think it's going to be one for me. And I need to have a little think about it. It's not going to be this week because it's Liverpool. But we now know the Burnley Leicester fixture, as we predicted on Monday, is going to go in game week 27. It's going to be on the Tuesday. Which the only interesting thing to throw up about that from a Burnley perspective is I don't think that the day of the game, I don't think it's good for Burnley, because it now means they play Tottenham Wednesday, Crystal Palace Saturday, Leicester Tuesday. And it's unusual for them to have that kind of 3 games inside 6 days, basically. It's unusual for them. And it does mean there might even be a little bit of rotation in the fullback areas, particularly in that second double. So Conor Roberts was a player I owned in the Gaffer game for the EFL Fantasy last year. Did really well at Swansea, really good asset. So he's a player I've been aware of for a while. He's obviously nicked the place from Lowton now. He is a little bit more of a threat offensively, but I'd worry about that if he's going to play all three of them games, Tottenham, Crystal Palace and Leicester, which makes by default defensively Tarkowski or me or Pope, obviously, the safest play to go. I think I'm going to buy Tarkowski for Issa Diop in 26. That's where my thinking is, Suj. I was leaning that more in towards 8 Nori, but I think with the back-to-back doubles, I'll chance that literally just the 2 games and then holding the money and moving it on to a Chelsea player in 28. That's my fault. Weghorst, can't see me going there. Looked really good, by the way. He looked a little bit leaner than the Weghorst I saw play for Holland in the summer. He had one brilliant effort from the edge of the box, and obviously it was his assist for the goal. Maxwell Cornet might have picked up a knock, obviously came off injured, and he is kind of getting that kind of reputation where he is going to be someone like St. Maximin has in the past, who unfortunately is going to pick up muscle injuries. That will be a blow for them. Personally, I hope he's back for them when they play Crystal Palace on 27, because I don't really want him to play against Tottenham in 26. I think you can definitely look at them, though. Back-to-back doubles is intriguing. And then there's no awful fixture in there, is there? Brighton, Tottenham, Palace, Leicester.
No. I'm just not making any decisions off the fact of doubles and why. I'm not trying to buy a player because they've got a double, if you know what I mean. It's got to make sense for me for other reasons. So yeah, nah, it's not really appealing Burnley at all. I'm going to probably swerve them. Got other things I'd rather focus on.
People are going to steam into them, you know that. Weghorst is going to be all the rage.
Yeah, maybe. And if it works for me to solve other problems, then sure, I don't mind a bit of Weghorst, but it's highly unlikely. Man City obviously beat Brentford comfortably 2-0, as you'd expect them to. Man City, for me, is just still always this age-old. Other than Cancelo, I just don't know who else I'd want to buy, but they keep winning games. They're so high up the league. They're going to keep winning games and scoring goals, and they're going to keep rotating. And I don't know where to go.
I know who I'd want to buy. It's Aymeric Laporte, as I say to you nearly every week. It just never happens for me. I mean, let's take that as an example then, Suj. Aymeric Laporte, Tottenham at home in 26, Everton away in 27, or Burnley's double-double.
Laporte, mate.
Really? You got to go to double A. Stop being boring, man.
No, not going the doubler is surely more exciting than going with the doubler. Going with the doubler is a safe option. Seeing the upside on the single game day player.
Tarkowski's going to score in both, mate. It's back-to-back 17 pointers or something, mate. Yeah.
Brentford, on the other hand, are looking like they're going to slip down into trouble.
There's some positives for them from this game, in the sense that the goals they considered were mistakes. That's obviously not a positive. All I mean by that is Roslev shouldn't make the tackle on Sterling. It's not a penalty. Possibly they get to half-time at 0-0. And obviously Raya, for whom they're much better for having back in goal, commits a bit of a calamity pass out. Although I don't agree with you shouldn't play out from the back at Man City. What a fucking wet lettuce nonsense that is, I've heard people say. It's just a bad pass. And so they've conceded 2 goals at the Etihad through mistakes. Other than that, he hasn't done a lot in the game, David Raya. It wasn't like they were peppered or anything. I think City picked a team that, as usual with Guardiola, isn't based on offensive tactics, based on defensive tactics. He knows when they went there in late December, that long throw is a problem. He's gone, I'm going to pick Stones as well. Kind of have these 3 big boys. Stones played at right back, with obviously Laporte and Diaz inside of that, with Cancelo. That then becomes a very tall back 4. Not that Cole Walker's short. Cole Walker has concentration problems at things like set pieces. So I can understand why he picked Stones in that particular game. That's possibly going to make people a little bit nervous about Cancelo for the weekend, because we'd have to assume that Cole Walker will play against Norwich. He's suspended in the Champions League. So presumably you're going to use him. So is there any question marks on Cancelo? Could he play Zinchenko at left back? Could he play Stones and then play Laporte at left back this time, for example?
Of course.
I just think at the moment, and I part mention that because there'll be a few people possibly in my situation where I've only got 3 defenders this week because of the Arsenal blank. Currently, you've only got 3 without making any transfer because of the Chelsea players, right? So I've got Trent, Cancelo, and Dalot. Should be fine. I mean, Dalot inside, even if he misses one, he's going to play inside the double. He's first choice at the moment. So Trent will play, we presume. Dalot will play, but I've got no cover if Cancelo doesn't play. But I think it's all right. I think he probably will. I don't think we stick the armband on him that though. I might do in Sky though, Suj. I've leaned more back against it. So just think of Guardiola's comments as always, like he's naturally fit and stuff. He's so important to the team, particularly as Norwich will probably play a bit differently and try and sit in and make the game more difficult for City. It's probably the only way they can go about doing it and trying to hurt City. So I think Cancelo probably does still play. The offensive guys, what you said at the start, Suj, I don't want any of them because they're just going to share all the returns. I do think, and I said this on my stream, for me, De Bruyne was the best captaincy option this week. It didn't work for me because I knew it would mean I'd have to go De Bruyne, Fernandes, Salah in a row, and I didn't want to do that personally. If you've got him and you've got Foden and stuff, you're not selling this week. I'm finally cutting with Bernardo Silva. It's been a waste. It's not worked out. I've not lost any value on him. Even in spite of the fact they're playing Norwich this week, though, it's time to go. And certainly when I'm buying Mo, I don't need the excuse, do I?
No, exactly that. It's a very easy no-brainer.
Brentford got a real interesting run, game week 27 to 30. Obviously, their fixture at Leicester's now 1 in 30. Before that, we've got Newcastle, Norwich, Burnley. If they perform badly in those games, they're in trouble. But if they perform even reasonably well in those games, I still think they'll be all right. They obviously were missing. They were obviously missing.
Got games in hand,
They were missing Tony Wednesday night as well. They can obviously begin to try and integrate Christian Eriksen now, who I would have thought they're probably, I guess, targeting to probably start maybe by game week 27. I would have thought, which is the start of the run.
Yeah, let's talk about Norwich 1, Crystal Palace 1, but probably briefly. I know Pukki's done well. Pukki hasn't done well. Everyone else has done shit. But he did score. I mean, I'm not looking at any Norwich players. I'm not looking to sell Conor Gallagher. It's important to remember, of course, as most people would know, that he doesn't have a double in 26 because one of the games is against Chelsea. So if you're looking at him in your squad thinking he's a doubler, I'm afraid he's not. How did you feel when Zaha missed the penalty?
I only saw it for the first time last night. Because as I said to you after Spurs Wednesday night, I couldn't be bothering with match of the day or anything. How do I feel about him missing the penalty? I mean, it was funny, wasn't it? It doesn't matter matter who took it. It was funny.
I just didn't know if I was like I thought it was funny. I just didn't know if I was being cruel by laughing at it.
No, I mean it's ironic that 2 minutes earlier as well, he scored an absolute weldy, right? I mean, it's a brilliant goal. Actually, not very typical Zaha goal in that sense, in terms of coming in and actually bending that into the far corner. Super goal. But yeah, obviously his left foot gave way when he went to take it, and he managed to double ricochet it off his feet twice. And obviously it looked dreadful because it didn't even look like, we've seen it before where players slip and they kick it against the heel of their own foot and it spins over the bar or something. This wasn't even like that. He kicked it against his left foot, come back and hit his swinging right foot, and then dribbled out terribly wide. Yeah, it's embarrassing, but no biggie. He is the only locked Palace forward. And what I mean by locked is you want to say nailed. I'd warned people on my stream that although I definitely thought Edouard would play, with Zaha coming back in, I didn't think it was straightforward with, Norwich Wednesday, Brentford Saturday. They've got double game week 26 coming. And Vieira's really reintegrated and really likes Mateta. And I didn't think it was a guarantee that Edouard would play. I explained that it was similar risk, therefore, for Michael Elise as well. So last week, the week just gone, as much as people saying, you got to bin the Watford players, everyone was buying Edward. What did it get you?
Edward.
Jedson. Odds on Edouard Jedson. You got you 1 point rather than the 2 Dennis King, right?
Mm.
So that's why, as I said, the moving it at the moment, I think it's not for me. Does he play at Brentford at the weekend? Yeah, he probably does. He probably does come back in for Mateta, but I wouldn't bank on it. And then what do you do? If he doesn't start the weekend and you've got the assets sitting there for the double, then what?
Agreed.
It becomes awkward. And I don't think it's anybody's fault. Like, I don't think most people who'd said to me, should I buy Edouard? I'd have said to them, yes, but be conscious of Zaha's coming back, and we don't know what that results in at the moment. It's also worth saying with Palace, their away form's nothing like their home form, and that's becoming an ongoing issue for them. And I'm not sure that they'll get anything at Brentford at the weekend, actually, especially if Tony's back.
No,
Norwich,
that's
by the way,
really important game.
Best budget bench in the game right now. Brandon Williams, Adam Eder up front, and Matthias Norman.
Okay.
He's back fit as well. And that allows pricks like me to start Jacob Ramsey every week.
Spurs 2, Southampton 3. People, I'm sure, might want to see a little bit of a meltdown, but we've got to give credit to Southampton here, who've been, I want to call them under the radar, but my issue with Southampton all season is initially it was a case of Che Adams and Adam Armstrong won't have enough goals in them, and they don't have enough goals in the wide players, whether it's Walcott or Nathan Redmond or whoever decides to play in those positions. James Ward-Prowse will pull it out of the bag with free kicks enough to keep them up. But actually, they do have goals in them. And Armando Broja has stepped up. Like everybody's going to be asking Chelsea questions this summer of Armando Broja.
Chelsea might be asking their own questions of just keeping him.
I don't think they want to sell him, but everyone's going to ask the question for sure.
He's absolutely brilliant. I'll do Tottenham first, because as I said to you on Tottenham yesterday, I do want to talk about Saints quite a bit, but I just kind of briefly cover the Tottenham bit. Bad performance, but actually within it, there were a few positives. Do you know which 2 teams this game week had created the most big chances?
Tottenham.
And?
Southampton.
Obviously. It was a terrific game of football.
Yeah, I mean, 23 shots Saints had, 10 on target. It's a good number.
So some of the plays we put together, in fact, for both goals, especially the second goal we got was a great goal. Admittedly, it probably is a foul by Emerson on Broja, but there was an incident about 2 minutes before that where Adams was backing into Sanchez. Sanchez already, the old Harry Kane one. I don't know if Adams did it intentionally, but Sanchez already in the air committed to winning the header, and Adams goes back into him, and he gives the free kick to Southampton for that one. And obviously people went a bit mad, right? Because Sanchez ended up going over the top of him. And I think there was a consciousness of, because then Emerson went over the top of Broja. The difference to this one was Emerson clattered into him and Broja didn't particularly back in, but Emerson won the header clean. That was like the difference between the 2 incidents. So I'd have understood it if it was given as a foul. In any case, Kane played fine, but he ended up having to drop deep because the midfield pairing of Winks and Højbjerg was disastrous. Harry Winks has been a lot better under Antonio Conte, but didn't have a good game. As I said to you on that podcast yesterday, I don't know how Højbjerg made it into the second half. Rodrigo Bentancur will come in for at least one of them. I'd like to clone Bentancur and put him in for both of them. As soon as he come on the pitch, we looked like we could play football for 10, 15 minutes. But then full credit to Southampton, recovered. Emerson was a disaster, right wing back. Sonny played okay. Another goal in a home game, a regular for him. It's worth remembering he's just come back from injury. If for some reason you're still sitting there with Lucas Moura, I'd be conscious that we're getting to the point that even though he's assisted in this game, that might be becoming a problem for you. Reguilon, I thought, played really well. The real big takeaway is I think I learned something defensively from an FPL perspective. So my advice to many was don't bother, although Reguilon really should have hauled in this game. Him and Kane are both so unlucky to not get big returns in this game particularly. But the problem is a lot of people reacted to Romero's performance against Brighton and said, yeah, he's great. And individually, he is great. There's a major problem, though, once they come up against a front two, which I'll explain a bit more in a sec. No organisation between that back three: Sanchez, Romero, Dyer. So there was a little bit of a doubt with the fact that Romero's gone and played the central of the three centre backs, and reports coming out of Tottenham saying that Conte really likes Davinson Sanchez. If there was a possibility that Dyer was possibly going to be first choice backup rather than first choice starter, I think I've overlooked the leadership qualities and the experience that Eric Dyer brings. So I think the first choice back three, once Dyer's back for it, will mean that Davinson Sanchez is the one that misses out. That said, he might try Davinson Sanchez at right wing back because he needs to try something different with that position. I know the solution is not Matt Doherty. The answer is never Matt Doherty. What Southampton did, which is really different to what other teams do, is they were really brave, particularly in that kind of period where they were dominant in the first half. Was they basically left themselves 4 against 5 defensively from Tottenham's goalkeeping build up from the Loris goal kicks, which meant that obviously Tottenham would invariably go quite long. Southampton would win the turnover. And obviously once they've then won the turnover, they've then got the numerical advantage on the turn. So it's really interesting because when a game splits like that, you normally get 6v6 and 4v4 or 5v5 and 5v5. But Southampton instigated that they were going to actually go at Tottenham and take the advantage without the ball to put a front 6 against Tottenham's 5, whereas Tottenham had split their other 5 against the Southampton 4. But Tottenham didn't take advantage of the opportunity. Southampton gave Tottenham so many chances to play the pass between the lines and get at that back 4. Unfortunately, I've got no vision in my central midfield at the moment, so which was a little bit of a problem. So there were some things for Southampton which, had Tottenham been able to take advantage of it, could have hurt them. That's how the Reguilon chance really come about, actually, was Tottenham getting it in them pockets and Southampton just being overloaded and dead. But the problem was Southampton was so brave in the way that they set up to go and press Tottenham. Tottenham couldn't do anything. So bear in mind what I'm saying there. They've gone at points where they're going 6v5. Now, that's only from goal kicks. But at other points in the game, they're going full on 6v6. Or they're leaving one-man Tottenham advantage. And when they left Tottenham advantage, every single time they left the advantage with Davinson Sanchez, because he can't pass for fucking toffee. They were conscious of Davis playing the ball into channels or playing diagonals, and Romero's calm on the ball. It's not to say these two players never touched the ball, but in pressing, instigating moments, they were happy to say, Sanchez, you have it. Whenever it goes into anyone else, we're going to go and press. Yeah. And it was really clever from Southampton. Every single one of them throughout the team, in terms of the starting 11, was absolutely brilliant. I highlight a few of them. Cole Walker-Peters, Tottenham, what are you doing, mate? He's better than both of the two clowns we've got in that position by miles. And obviously, they've got Livramento to come back. Really good Cole Walker-Peters. Really impressed with Romain Perraud at left back. Looks a good really player. Good. Johnny Pringle said on COTC, like he made a point of saying he was really good against Man City a few weeks ago. Looks good. As you know, Suj, I've been watching left-sided centre-backs. Mohamed Salisu, really good, really composed, unflustered throughout the game. Bednarek was unlucky with the own goal, but played okay. I said I was going to highlight a few. Actually, I'm going to talk about all of them. Forster in goal. I'm always critical of their goalkeepers. Claimed that the big moments in the game didn't have a chance with the goal. Midfield 2, Romeo, you know I like. Ward-Prowse, delivery. Wow. I mean, he's top level. Do you know what? Really, he's the sort of player that should sit in our FPL teams from game weeks 1 to 38 and forget about it. He's a brilliant asset. Right-hand side, Stuart Armstrong's a player we've spoken about a lot, Suj, that we really like. And he's getting back to fitness. He's one to keep an eye on because we've got some good fixtures coming up when you're looking for a differential in the next few weeks or so. Mohamed Elyounoussi is the best I've ever seen him play by miles in that first half. He was so dangerous.
Yep.
Absolutely brilliant. And the front 2, Adams got a terrific goal, worked hard all game, and Breuer is the bollocks. He's the best pound for pound forward in FPL at the moment. And
he would be at about £1 million more as well, to be honest with you.
If Breuer was, to be honest, if Breuer was the same price as the others in and around there, he's the one I'd want to go and get because of that fixture switch they've got in game week 26, Everton, Norwich, Newcastle. You got Villa, Watford. They might play in 30, Burnley. So if you're looking to run through without the chips, and they've got Leeds in 31 on the other side, if you're without the 3 hit chips, Southampton, Villa are kind of the 2 teams that are kind of absolutely ideal for you at the moment to kind of run you through and they've got good fixtures. I forgot what was because something else was going to. Oh, about Saints. Obviously, they play United this weekend.
They'll give United a hell of a game.
They will, but when we went in front, honestly, I don't mind admitting, I thought we'd won the game when we went in front because their legs went. They put so much into their off-the-ball structure in the first half. And everyone had talked about the chances they had. And, of course, they completely dominated and well-deserved to win. But it was everything off the ball that allowed them to then be brilliant with the ball, right? Sometimes structurally, you have to set yourselves up in a certain way in the first instance to gain a domination. Southampton gained domination in the game by the way they played without the ball, then were very good with the ball. And the last 50 minutes of the first half, they could have got 4 or 5 goals, battered us. But because they work so hard, it does lend for them to tire. We've seen this statistically with them a lot over the last couple of years. They lose leads. It happens quite a lot. So when Son scores with 20 minutes to go, and we've had our best spell of the game, I'm thinking they're done.
You think shut it down, and you're bringing on Bentancur and what have you. So
fair game. They recovered, and they recovered primarily, obviously, because of 2 absolutely world-class crosses from James Ward-Prowse. Although, as I said on the podcast we did on Patreon yesterday, what Emerson Royal was doing on the 3rd goal. On the 2nd goal, I don't blame him. Tottenham got overloaded. They went one too many. Sanchez, Romero and Davis should all be one deeper going backwards. On the 3rd goal, though, I don't know where Emerson goes. Someone needs to watch a replay of that goal and explain to me why he goes to try and block Che Adams' header rather than challenge him. I can't explain it. It's bizarre. He's having a crisis now at the moment, and the fans have had enough of him, unfortunately. They will give United a game, but sustainability to go from Wednesday night to Saturday lunchtime, they might find difficult. United will have chances against them to give you a chance. There is one more thing I want to say about Tottenham, if you allow me, Suj.
Yeah.
The Y word. We covered it.
Yeah.
We covered it yesterday on our Patreon podcast, and obviously on the 21st December we released a podcast about the Y word and Tottenham fans' use of it for positive and not positive over the last 50 years. I made a conscious decision a couple of years ago. I'm not ashamed to say that I used the word for 25 years or so. I made a decision a few years ago not to use the word anymore because I decided if it was offensive to one person, it was one person too many. Tottenham fans have used the word as a term of endearment, do not mean harm. However, the football club released a statement yesterday and advised fans to stop using the words. To move away from it is the term they use. I know we've got a lot of Tottenham listeners. I'm urging you not to be the big one about it. It's time to move on and accept. And I know it's difficult, and we know the reasons why it's used, but think of the bigger picture and the people that are being offended, and please move on now from using the word.
I spoke to a couple of family members, Spurs fans as well, who all agree. But we're just saying that there's kids that use it now, and it's going to be very hard to move away from. I wanted to start somewhere.
Last night, I saw Sky had cameras outside Tottenham, right? And they interviewed, they showed a kind of little 5-second interviews with a couple of fans, and they asked their opinion. Well, the 4 clowns that they asked their opinion for, I wanted to throw something at the TV. They do not represent my football club.
Well, honestly, they're looking for people that are going to be controversial.
You got one guy saying that we've always sung it. I don't know why we sing it. And that's part of the problem.
Well, exactly that.
People need educating now. And I don't mind saying that I sung it for 25 years or so. And there's a reason why I sung it is because it was a collective, a theme of unity, something that was first used as a defense mechanism, ironically, against racism. But now we're in a different culture and a different time where, as far as I'm concerned, it's no longer acceptable. I understand why it's difficult for Tottenham fans to let go. I am obviously one of them. I go every week. I've used that word a lot, but haven't for a couple of years now because I've realized the impact of speaking to people that it can have on them. Not all Jewish fans are against it. I've spoke to Jewish Tottenham fans who want to keep using the word, but bottom line is there's many in the Jewish community who are offended by the word. It's nothing to do with football. Let's move on from it now.
Aston Villa 3, Leeds 3, a heavyweight pound, just like slugfest, I think is the way to describe this from what I've heard and seen about the game. Just blow for blow. Let's just go for it and see what comes of it. Ultimately, standout highlights going to be Coutinho taking a little bit of the limelight with 2 assists.
Not Dan James,
and the goal. Well, he had to come good at some time, didn't he?
Well, I mean, look, someone asks about him every week. What about Dan James? XG padders, and he's never going to pad it, basically. But he did in this game, and actually took the goals really well. And he hit the bar. He is continuing to play OOP. It's of zero interest to me. It's the sort of one where I just think that generally he can't finish, but his finishing in this game was really okay. He's in the right place for the second goal. He was unlucky when he hit the bar, but the finish for the opening goal was really good, actually. It was interesting. Again, I'm not seeing a lot of this game, so apologies. But Rafinha wasn't involved in many of the highlight clips I saw of Leeds attacking play. But he's still the only one of interest to me, is Rafinha. But I think Leeds are largely, in spite of their double, it's on paper, it's the toughest double, Manchester United and Liverpool away. United's at home, obviously. They're going to be a skip for me, largely.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're going to be all right. I know there's been will they get sucked in? I think with Leeds, the thing is, they'll beat anyone on the right day. Like if Liverpool have an off day when Leeds go to Liverpool and Leeds are bang on it, Leeds can win at Liverpool because of how they play. They're just so unique in the style they are. It also means that they're liable to get what happened at Man City and get done 7-0 now and again. Not normally that bad, admittedly, but it's such a difficult team to read from that perspective. Again, to highlight what I said about Jacob Ramsey, though, if people don't track midfield runners in their man-to-man system, they are dead. If you've got the right person who can play the right pass and stuff. Everton, midfield runner, Dele Alli. Can he do it? Home debut.
No. But
that's how they should set up. In my opinion, with the injuries they've now got Everton, that's what they should do. They should set up in a 4-3-3. They should play Calvert-Lewin up front and just get him to try and work the channels. If Calvert-Lewin's not fit enough to do it, they shouldn't, and get Richarlison to play the same role and then play Gordon and Townsend and get Dele Alli and Donny van der Beek to go from midfield, and Allen has to sit his fucking ass down and stay. That is Everton's best chance of beating Leeds, in my opinion. It's the best way to play against them. You've got to have midfield runners. Otherwise, to be honest with you, I think Leeds will go there and win.
And what about Villa? I mean, Coutinho, you obviously own him in Sky, 7.2 million. He really feels like he's pulling the strings and running the game, really. For me, I think he's well worth the 7.2 million. Yeah,
but I mean, it's worth saying that Coutinho this week was Buendia last week, and actually, I think it might be Buendia next week as well, actually. Luca Dean missed chance in this game. Those have gone. Don't stress about it. There's good fixtures to come. They catch the eye, like I said, kind of Villa, and it was the other team I mentioned, Suj. You can just kind of run through with them because of the fixtures. Southampton, sorry, obviously.
Southampton, yeah.
Yeah, I think Villa, Southampton not this week. And probably, to be honest, not Villa this week as well. But then you can run through with them quite comfortably in spite of the kind of no double situation that they're in at the moment. I mean, there is a possibility that Southampton could double in 29, which would be quite exciting, actually, because of the run they've got before and after it. Breuer, it's got to be done for me.
I'm going to be buying Breuer. It's just a case of figuring out what the good entry point is.
I don't
Worst
really
case is
know.
Ronaldo.
I don't really know how I've managed to avoid him for so long.
The thing with Breuer as well this season is he always seems to have a flag, but then always seems to play.
It's very true.
He always seems to be a doubt, and then you're like, oh, if he's a doubt, well, I don't want my bench player to be a doubt because I might need him to come on. But yeah, he always seems to. There never seem to be long injuries or anything. He always then seem to get minutes and come back and play. I think Breuer is definitely now one that we need to.
I was going to say privilege. It obviously wasn't, but having now seen him live on Wednesday night as well and been able to obviously sit at aerial view for those who are unfamiliar with us, he's elite. Like in his movement really and stuff. Yeah, he's got everything. He's got the yard of pace. He's good in the air. His finishing is decent, although he snatched up one chance. He should have got his second. He's strong. He's got that kind of I was going to say cheeky aggressiveness, but I don't think it's cheeky. It's just aggressiveness in his game. He's got the all-round package as a forward, and I'm not saying he's going to be one of the best in the world. I'm certainly saying that he's absolutely value at 5.4 or whatever price he is in FPL at the moment. And it needs going in, and it just needs to stay in, and it needs to play every week, regardless of fixture, because Southampton can do it against the best anyway. Watkins owners shouldn't be frustrated. I've just kind of spoke about Calvert-Lewin and Watkins. If you look back on the goals, Watkins opens up the space brilliantly. He plays a real pivotal role for the game. In other games, the chances will fall to Ollie Watkins. So I wouldn't stress about that if you've got him. He's actually probably still one of the better forwards to have at the moment. Dean or Cash are absolutely reasonable. Obviously, Concer's now suspended at Newcastle at the weekend. I think they're going to pass me by as well, Suj. But yeah, as we've spoken about a number of times, lots to like. I mean, I do have Ramsey, don't I? I should probably just start playing the bugger. I need to question this in my mind if it's, and I suspect it is psychological because of his price.
Liverpool 2, Leicester 0. We're out through the last couple of games. 2 assists for the centre backs for Liverpool. Rare. I think it's not common that you'll see the 2 assists coming from Matip and Van Dijk.
It's definitely rare you see a Joel Matip nutmeg assist.
Yeah, true. And Jota with the 2 goals. Obviously, Luis Diaz got 89 minutes under his belt playing on the left side, but no Sadio Mane. Salah benched, which in some ways is good because it means he's definitely going to start against Burnley away on Sunday, right? But Leicester started the game quite brightly. I was watching loosely, I would say, doing other things at the same time, but Lookman looked lively. And they did pose a bit of a threat, but in the end, Schmeichel had to make a lot of saves, 9 saves in the end, and comfortable. Like we're playing Leicester 4:30 kickoff on Sunday. It's away. We're gonna fuck it up because games where we should go and win because we're in better form than they are and they've got problems. We inevitably sometimes do, but.
I think Bowen is captainable this weekend about fuck it up, mate. They're too shot defensively, mate. Aren't they?
They really are. They really are. Luke Thomas at 4.3. If you really want to budget cheap,
sod that shit. There, you're speaking for the sake of speaking there, mate.
Nah, you wouldn't bother. From a Liverpool point of view, I mean, we know Trent and Salah are almost locked for so many people, and had I bought Robertson this week and made the transfer, I might not have left myself the option of keeping Jota. He has put his hand up and said, like, don't fucking sell me. And I do have bias from the start of the season where my 3 Liverpool were Trent, Jota and Salah, and they were delivering me 30 plus points almost every single game week.
That was just Salah, wasn't it?
No, honestly, between the 3 of them, and if Salah blanked, Trent would pick up an assist and Jota would pick up an assist. They were Salah so good.
Week 2, that was it, wasn't it?
I think he did have a couple of blanks, but it is just so consistent. So I might not go Robertson. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was the plan this week was to get Robertson, but it's a fair point. Is it worth it? Is it worth moving off Jota?
You're saving yourself 2 transfers.
That's true.
When you think about it. One is selling Jota, one is buying Robertson. If you just stick, you're actually saving yourself 2. Well, I say you're saving yourself 2. You're saving yourself 1 in your case because you would have sold Jota directly to Salah, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Whereas now you're sending someone else to Salah. So you're still making the 1 transfer. You're saving yourself a transfer. That's a transfer in the bank, which could be an extra doubler for you or coverage in a blank or something like that, or get you a player that you want more, like Armando Broja, for example, and it costing you 4 points less than it would have cost. You know, which player had the highest combined XG and XA this game week?
No.
Mo Salah.
Did he?
Yep.
And he didn't play hardly any minutes.
He played the same fucking half hour as Ronaldo,
mate. Mad.
Yeah, I'm buying him now. Well, I say now. I'll buy him tonight. Just make sure I've got all the team needs, make sure I haven't got any problems. And yeah, I'll buy him for Bernardo. It's enough. I will still captain De Gea rather than Salah. But yeah, enough. Let's get it done. I mean, as well, you've obviously got the period of the next week as well. But once the deadline's gone, do you know how many early transfers is going to be on Mo Salah ahead of game week 26?
Yeah.
Every single person who's engaged in the game is going to be buying him back, basically. So I'm going to go and get him now. It's a good fixture at the weekend, right? Burnley away and stuff. There's nothing to fear. I think it's. I wouldn't be hugely shocked if he was a sub again, just purely because of how. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Suj, but all of the front three were very good last night. Does that include Firmino?
Yeah, Firmino is generally always good. He's an unsung hero, isn't he?
I also think, because of the way Burnley played, that Liverpool might play all four of them. And I think this is something that's not being spoken about enough that might happen more. The other thing with Diaz is, if you actually look at him, and I'm doing some for the advanced tiers at the moment, the position he played for Porto primarily was left midfield rather than left wing. Now, from that left midfield position, obviously go and cause damage. Obviously, for Porto in the Portuguese league, you're winning majority of games, but same case for Liverpool. Now, obviously, he can play left wing. He can drift towards the right occasionally as well. We've seen that for Colombia, and we've seen it in more high-profile games for Porto as well. But I think it gives Liverpool even more of a weapon to look at a 4-2-3-1 and play Firmino at 10. I think if they do that, it's Firmino at 10 and then Salah is the central striker. Diaz, Mane and Jota fill in two of the wider roles. That's something I think they might consider. But yeah, I wouldn't be hugely shocked if Salah was a sub again. But as proven last night, half hour's enough.
Yeah.
He's just on a different level to every other attacking player in the league at the moment, and arguably further. He's unlucky, obviously, himself personally not to have picked up AFCON. He's going to be driven. I think what I've seen bits of the game last night, he's fine. Did he look tired to you in the half hour? It's difficult to say.
No.
He looked desperate to obviously get a goal or so, and a different night obviously does get one. So I'm going to get him in. For those who don't, it's going to be 26. For those that own, you're the ones already in the best position because you can be looking at other things. But yeah, generally, I feel that in terms of saving me, I'm looking at it and going, if I go Fernandes instead of Salah, I need Fernandes to outscore for it to be worth it. I need Fernandes to outscore Salah by more than 5. And I think Salah might outscore Fernandes.
Let's wrap up with Wolves, Arsenal. From the highlights I saw, it felt like both teams might walk away from this thinking they should have won, because Arsenal had chances on top of the goal. Lacazette had the one that he curled it away around the far post. Saka looked particularly lively, but then Wolves drew a few very good saves from Aaron Ramsdale as well. Even he's hitting it from outside the box and what have you, that both feel like they could have won the game. It didn't put me, like Wolves losing and conceding didn't put me off getting Max Hillman or any of their defenders particularly, because they still kept it tight with only a 1-0 win. But yeah, the main talking point is going to be Martinelli double yellow.
Well, I'll finish with the red cards. We talk about the football first. Arsenal did not deserve to lose. That's definite. If either was a winner, I think it was them. When you consider as well that actually after the red card, Lacazette should have scored, had a brilliant big chance to make it 2-0. The game was, Suj, exactly what you and I thought it would be. I don't know how often you and I have both predicted a game to finish 0-0, but
0-0.
That's what we did. And to be honest, it was a 0-0 kind of game, which isn't really to slander either, because I think for Arsenal, because Wolves have been kind of coming into contention, and they've obviously come into this knowing Tottenham has slipped up, Man United slipped up, for them to have drawn at Wolves wouldn't have been a disaster. Plus, they have been having their issues themselves in terms of scoring goals. So like, if anybody turns up to Wolves without the right mentality, we've seen that ever since they got promoted, you're in trouble, particularly kind of under the lights there and stuff. They do create a good atmosphere. But from the red card on, Wolves never did enough. I only felt like Wolves were going to score when Neves got on the ball, and his delivery was great. Jimenez, he's well off it at the moment, you know, and I think it needs to be said because he's been playing all season now.
Yeah.
And he's not on it. He's not attacking the ball. I'm not even saying it's the head injury.
We talked about him hardly this season.
Nah, there's no reason to. I mean, they've got a double coming up and then brilliant fixtures. I wouldn't go near him.
Yeah.
if I was to go with an attacking one, the attacking one, honestly, to watch out for is the fellow who came on as a substitute, is Chiquinho. That was my first look at him. Very, very lively prospect. Neither myself or Bradley Parker can explain to you why Markel played rather than Aït-Nouri. Bradley wasn't just, I think, gutted that he'd been saying to everyone, don't worry about it. And he was gutted for his football team.
Yeah.
That Markel was playing instead. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if there was something versus Bukayo Saka, particularly that they've looked at and they were worried about Aït-Nouri going against. But I don't know why. I don't understand that choice. They missed Moutinho last night. Really missed him. Then Donker doesn't add anything to him. It meant Neves had to do a lot more of the work. Moutinho should be back for the Tottenham game. Defensively, fine. Arsenal, very good defensively. The reason I've been saying for weeks that I think they're the team that will finish fourth is they're the fourth best team in this league defensively. You might argue Wolves are, but Arsenal will score more goals than Wolves.
Yeah, Wolves have conceded so few goals, 14 all season, I think it is.
And I don't mean in terms of,
but they've only scored 19.
I think Wolves have conceded the second most, right? So if you want to do it technically, then Wolves. I think in terms of the favourites for fourth, and Wolves are still within a challenge. I make Arsenal favourites because of that. I think should they lose White or Gabriel, it might, like in an instant, become a problem for them. But while those two are fit, and I think Kieran Tierney is possibly quite important to that as well, I think they're going to surprise. I think very, very quietly, they've been good defensively now in the majority of games for about 18 months. But what's would replace White and Gabriel's not good enough. No. Rob Holding's okay. Ben White is beginning, in my opinion, watching the game last night, and I watched all of this one, he's beginning to step up as a leader amongst that team. We must remember he's still quite young. And I'll compare it to what I said about Tottenham without Dyer and how much that was harmful. White is really stepping up. I really think Gabriel was a very, very good footballer as well. Offers them natural balance as the left-sided centre-back. So that gives them a chance in many games for Arsenal. They've got some good fixtures. I genuinely think, I don't think they'll power to fourth, but I think they'll finish fourth because they're the strongest defensively. But the squad's quite light at the moment. They're going to have to avoid injuries and dumb suspensions. Can I just add as well, because I know a few Wolves fans have been complaining that the goal shouldn't have stood. There's nothing wrong with the goal. And I feel the need to say that before I read to Arsenal fans so they can understand. Law 12, fouls and misconduct, where two separate cautionable offences are committed, even in close proximity, they should result in two cautions. For example, if a player enters the field of play without the required permission and commits a reckless tackle or stops a promising attack with a foul, handball, etc. By law, it is a bizarre scenario, but by law, the correct decision was to book Martinelli twice. If those incidents happen with two different players, does anybody think the referee isn't booking two different players?
No, it should have been booked twice. I agree with you on both things you just said there.
Let me ask you this, right? Let's say the throw-in incident didn't happen, right? And let's say Martinelli fouled, I think it was Chiquinho, in the exact same way. Chiquinho then gets up and squares to him, and they both grab each other around the throat. You think it's not two bookable offences?
No,
you say, oh, right, I'm only going to book Chiquinho because Martinelli doesn't know that first one's a yellow. So literally, it's a nonsense. It was a scenario Chris Baird was sent off for Northern Ireland in a game a couple of years ago where it happened before. It's the only incident that I can recall. But by law, it's the correct decision. And it would have been much easier, actually, for Michael Oliver to bottle the decision than not give the decision. He's an idiot. He knows that when he does that, he knows that's a yellow card offence when trying to stop the throwing. The advantage is then Wolves. You can't stop an advantage for a yellow card offence when Wolves are running at the defence. He then tries to redeem himself, which is obviously the correct thing to do, to run backwards. And he thinks he's going to get away with the second foul because the referee won't have the balls to book him twice. That's the reality. And now the annoyance will be for those who own him because he would have been one of the best buys, or even for those that have him for the double in 26, because they don't play in 25. He's going to miss the first game in the 26, which is also the game we really wanted him for, which was Brentford at home. And that's a shame because I think he's the sort of player who we'd have really been looking at. I drafted a wild card for if I was wild card in 24 last week. He would have been in it. He would have been a really popular choice. Great price. It's really frustrating for owners. I think you probably just accept it as long as you've got the cover at the moment, certainly for this week, and then make a decision in terms of whether you want to double whether you want to just bench him for the Wolves game. What you're doing with 27 might be relevant with that as well. But he's been an idiot. It must be said, his 10 teammates that were on the pitch dealt with the problems that Wolves tried to throw at them very well. The defender, it's got to start taking Arsenal's defensively seriously, honestly.
Yep, for sure. That's a rundown of the games, James. Whilst I put up a couple of Twitter questions, do you want to let everybody know, like, next week who you've got on for Clash of the Correspondents? And it's a pretty much regular week back again.
Yeah, next week. Unusually, we know the full schedule for the week. So me and Suj will be back on Monday, reviewing all the Gameweek 25 football. Clash of Correspondents Tuesday and Thursday. Liverpool v Leeds Tuesday, with FPL Loco Lord, FPL Tactician ahead of both teams double in 26. And Wolves versus Arsenal on Thursday, the repeat at the Emirates, with 3-5 Who and Bradley Parker ahead of the double for Arsenal and Wolves, not for Gabriel Martinelli. Sky Fantasy Football on Wednesday. Is it a Friday deadline then, Game Week 26? No, it can't be such. So I'll be streaming on YouTube Friday afternoon. Our Patreon content next week includes return of UCL Fantasy on Tuesday, Suj. That'll be need a refresh for you.
It will. I can't even remember how well I was doing or not. I wasn't doing too badly.
Me neither.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Right. I'm going to pick out a few non-FPL related questions here. So I think going through the games, we've given everybody a real rundown of what they should be looking at. Questions like, what striker should I buy? Breuer. Right. Okay.
Dennis. Okay.
FPL. T McBee. What's your point of choice, James?
Depends where I am. I've been drinking Amstel in the ground at Tottenham recently.
I'm going to knock the booze on the head.
Completely.
Yeah, it's really affecting my sleep. I've just, even Tuesday night watching West Ham, I only had 1 pint, but it just fucked up my sleep like nothing.
Really? Helps me sleep.
It makes you pass out. But yeah, I think I am. My body's just saying, mate, you can't hack it. So I'm thinking knocking the booze on.
I know that head. For me.
So I'm going to say, like I love a nice, tasty craft beer. Like I had a Brewdog Planet IPA the other day, which is what I drank on the Tuesday. Maybe it was like 38%. I should have checked. Other than that, though, yeah, I think it's going to be pint of water is my pint of choice.
Wow. Can't wait to see that in a couple of weeks.
Pierre, would you rather eat a banana with its skin or an orange with its skin?
It's got to be the orange. And I don't even like oranges either. It's got to be the orange, isn't it? I think it's got to be.
Yeah, orange, I think.
What are you going to do with the end of the banana?
Exactly. Banana skin's quite tough compared to orange skin.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with a banana.
Orange. Yeah. You're going to go... No, I'm going to go with an orange.
Oh, sorry. I was saying orange. I'm going to avoid the banana for sure. And Vardy boys, we'll leave it with one FPL question, James, before we wrap. How would your front line look if you were on a wild card this week?
Definitely Adamida and Breuer. And then
I go Weghorst because the double on the way. As much as I said I don't really want Burnley. Weghorst, Breuer.
So shit.
Dennis. King.
No, I think I'd still go Kane.
Yeah, Kane.
I'd still go Kane. I'd go Harry, Breuer, and Eder, and Saint Maximin would be the only one that's just because it was so good the other night, mate. That was a real eye test. Wow, I'd love to own you playing like this, but again, have to remember who the opponent was. They're them 6.5 million forwards, and in the it's all rubbish. All of it. It's all rubbish.
Indeed. There we go. Listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode. Quick turnaround before the next set of fixtures. So I hope we didn't ramble on too long. On Monday, we'll have more time, of course, and we'll get a feel for what happens this weekend. And I promise I won't miss the deadline. Stay safe, look after yourselves, and we'll be back at you next week. Ciao for now.
He says, good luck this weekend, everyone. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man.